What a pass. Giddy underneath for JRE. The reverse and the rookie-to-rookie action. Outside Lou Dort. He'll get the flyby. 3 on the way, and he rattles it in. SGA defended closely by Westbrook. Tough. Step back. Gets up the shot. Banks it in for the lead.
This is Lou Dort. You're listening to the Uncontested.
What is up, and welcome to the Uncontested podcast, coming to you live Sunday, January 23rd. A little late tonight. You know what? I just got to do it.
Tell him why, Jacob. Tell him why we're late.
Taylor, the floor is yours.
Fellas, I have one question for you, one question only. How about those Chiefs? Just
indeed, what a game!
All-time QE matchup right there. Man, I'm still not okay. I'm trying to get into the Thunder mode, and I'm gonna try my hardest.
Speaking of the crossover here, Taylor, did you see Giddy's tweet?
I did, and it made me so giddy myself. I love him so much.
Josh Giddey said, "Pat Mahomes, the GOAT."
The GOAT.
And I think Taylor just found a new favorite player.
Yes, absolutely.
I cannot imagine what Taylor's anxiety was.
It was
during that game.
It was unhealthy.
Is your blood pressure at a safe level right now? Before you check that before you got on?
Oh, his wife is probably yelling at him because he lost his damn mind during that Chiefs game. Well, as Taylor is dealing with the missus, who is about to have his child, by the way.
Indeed. Doggy needs out.
You better clip that audio, Silva, for future podcasts.
Yep.
Doggy needs
bye,
out.
Taylor.
Get a lot of use out of that one.
We are brought to you by the Blue Wire Podcast Network, and we are the official podcast of SI Thunder. I am your host for the evening, Jacob Niffen. Taylor, obviously fresh off the Chiefs win, is here along with us. Coming back from health and safety protocols, we've got Justin Peabody.
Hello, everybody.
Also,
fresh antibodies coursing through my veins, plus a vax, plus a booster. I'm feeling like Thanos with the Infinity Stones over here.
I love it. Also, out of the health and safety protocols, JD Silva.
COVID 2, the sequel.
Rough life for Silva. Double COVID with the vaccine.
Yep, unfortunately.
Should have listened to Aaron Rodgers.
Got my smell back about 4 weeks ago, actually, after getting COVID in late 2020. Immediately got COVID again. Hey, it didn't go away. It's all good, but just ironic.
Rough times. Well, gentlemen, even though football is fresh on everybody's mind after this weekend, we've got to talk some basketball. We did not record a post-game podcast last night after the Thunder took on the Cleveland Cavaliers. So we're going to chat about that game a little bit today. We're also going to talk a little bit about Kenrich Williams and an interesting Joe Masato piece in the Oklahoman that came out this weekend. A tank update and a fun round of take it or leave it. But let's start with the Thunder Cleveland breakdown. Justin, OKC loses their 4th game of the week. I don't know how many games in a row it's been. I think 5, if that's correct. 5 games in a row they have lost. Initial takeaways from the Cleveland game, Justin.
Lou Dort's garbage ejection feels like a good place to start.
Mm-hmm.
Lou Dort and Kevin Love getting a little dust up. Lou Dort kind of swung his elbows, which is not an abnormal thing. Didn't seem specifically malicious.
Didn't really make contact.
Kevin Love's shoulder area, and Kevin Love reacted enough to get Lou Dort thrown out of the game, which was unfortunate. Second time in like a week-ish. I think a week exactly that the Thunder played the Cavs. The first time Darius Garland just dominated. Wasn't that a big comeback for the Cavs? An 18-point comeback for the Cavs, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yep.
And this one, Garland was impressive again. He's looking really good. But I thought Shea did a better job this time of kind of holding his own, going toe-to-toe with him this time. Shea had 29 points, 9 boards, 6 assists. Not a perfect game from Shea, but he was the leading scorer on the floor. He was taking more catch and shoot threes, which you like to see. I think he hit 3 threes, which is encouraging. He's been in a bit of a shooting slump. So between Shea hitting threes and Lou getting in Kevin Love's head, those are kind of my big takeaways from that one.
Yeah, Shea was, I think, 9 of 17 from inside the arc, which I thought was especially encouraging considering the bigs that Cleveland has.
Yep.
Their rim protection is so good. And for Shea to be able to get downhill and do what he did was really special. I'm rewatching his threes right now. I don't know if listeners of this podcast know this. I didn't know this till like a week ago. If you go on NBA.com and you look at a box score and you click on any of the stats, it'll show you the videos of those stats. So if you click on Shea's threes,
how do you think I've made my highlight reels all these times?
I don't know where you were ripping them from, but that is, I love it. Like,
that's
so
where I
just
get
watching Shea's threes right now. My big takeaway from this game and kind of from this road trip, and we'll talk this week in review a little bit more here in a second. It feels like Shea is taking a lot more catch and shoot threes versus off the dribble threes. And I love to see that. He shoots a much higher percentage off catch and shoot. I thought he did that in that Cavs game. And like you mentioned, Justin, it was a really competitive game. The Thunder got down, fought back. I think if Lou doesn't get tossed, they might win the game.
Had a chance. Yeah, they definitely
were right there.
On the note of catch and shoot threes, our buddy Andrew Schlecht had a good tweet earlier today where he had pulled the catch and shoot 3-point percentage for OKC players. Trey Mann, team best at 47%, followed by Muskie at 44%, followed by SGA at 41%. So to your point, Jacob, 41% on catch and shoot threes is darn good. And as much as I love to see a Shea step back, I think I might love to see a catch and shoot Shea even more.
Yeah, because if it's a catch and shoot, that means somebody else on this team is creating offense.
Mm-hmm.
And it causes everybody else on the defense to have to scramble. Love it.
I like seeing Shea get those looks in last night's game, because the game I watched on Wednesday and did the post game over, Shea had like one of the toughest nights I've seen out of him playing against the Spurs. They took away all of those shots. I think he only took 3 threes that whole night. So it was awesome to see him switching it up and finally getting some open shots.
I totally agree. Yeah, it's something that Coach talked about a few weeks ago that I think is slowly sneaking its way back in. Shea being more active off ball, making plays off the catch versus off the dribble. I think that's a pretty big piece to this puzzle moving forward.
I agree. Especially, like you guys mentioned, with you have a player like Giddey. Even as the Thunder are drafting more players moving forward, I think I tweeted this out in one of my post games here over the last week or two, saying that I thought that Shea unlocking that catch and shoot jump shot, I probably shouldn't limit it to 3, but just the jumper in general is kind of that next step to really take him to that next level of superstardom rather than like all-star-ish. And I agree completely. It's really good to hear those stats and see him being able to hit those shots when you have other players like Giddey, for example, creating for him.
I gotta say, when the Thunder play the Cavs, which they've done twice in the last week, the only thing I can think about is how OKC was an effing coin flip away from Evan Mobley.
Yes,
and it hurts. Like I'm Giddey's awesome and he's super fun, but a freaking coin flip from so far the best rookie in the class.
Yeah,
that feels like one that's going to hurt for a long time.
One could argue they were even another coin flip away from having both Giddey and Mobley, and that hurts even worse.
I'm sick.
But let's not talk about
neither here nor there.
The could be's, because that makes me too sad. One thing I do want to talk about, though, Justin, and I think has been mentioned a lot amongst the Thunder fan base, but Cleveland started with basically nothing. Drafted Colin Sexton, drafted Isaac Okoro, drafted Darius Garland, drafted Evan Mobley, made opportune trades to get guys like Jarrett Allen, to get guys like Lauri Markkanen, and are now fighting at the top of the Eastern Conference standings and have a very young team. I mean, Garland is really good and he's young. They can trade Colin Sexton to get a piece that maybe fits a little bit better. They are doing really well. They're fifth in the East right now, a game out of third, 2 games out of first.
Wow.
So they're just like right there on the cusp, and they're nowhere near their final form. They have a lot of growing left to do.
Yep.
I think that is kind of the model that the Thunder will try to replicate. The trick is the Thunder started this thing with Shea and with Dort. You've already got one of the pieces in Giddey. I feel pretty confident saying Giddey is one of the pieces moving forward. If you go out and get lucky in the lottery this next summer, I think you're at the point where you're looking at those opportune trades, those Jarrett Allen type deals where you go and you get a couple of players. And the thing is for the Thunder after that, if after this summer and this NBA draft, they're kind of at that place where they're ready to stop exploring and start building, you still have 20-something picks.
You've got the assets. Yeah.
You know, you've got everything you need. And even if you trade some of them to go get some established young players, you're still going to be racking up first-round picks and selecting once, twice, 3 times in the first round for the next 4 or 5 years.
Yep.
They're really, really set up nice.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, if you want a blueprint, that, like you said, that's it right there. As you were talking, I was thinking like if we had to compare the Thunder now to the Cavs on their rebuild, are the Thunder now where the Cavs were a year ago, 2 years
I think
ago?
they were last year.
Last year, yeah. So I'm not saying OKC is going to draft Evan Mobley this summer, but if they do, look at what it can do. Everybody's pointed out, like, and Evan Mobley, the reason it hurts so bad is because you can see how he'd fit on this team. Everybody knows Oklahoma City needs a big.
Right.
OKC gets a big,
And a versatile big at
a
that.
versatile big who can do for them like Evan Mobley has done for the Cavs. I mean, this team's going to be good. This team needs that, and it needs 3-point shooters. 3-point shooters you can go dig up with trades. Hopefully they can do that more effectively than they did in Thunder 1.0.
Well, and Justin,
they didn't do that, but
the 2 things that you mentioned, I was going to tweet this last night during the Cavs game. I didn't do it because I thought it was too much of a no shit type of tweet. But the 3 things the Thunder really need are rebounding at the big position, which they don't currently have. I mean, Josh Giddey is their leading rebounder and he's their point guard.
Right.
You need somebody who can play above the rim.
Yep.
And you need shooting.
Yep.
Right? Those are the 3 things you need. And then I look at this draft and I see Jabari Smith Jr. and I see Chet Holmgren. Guys, 2 guys that can protect the rim, who can shoot from 3. Obviously, Jabari at a very, very high rate.
Yeah.
I mean, you snag either one of those 2 guys in this upcoming draft. I know some people are kind of down on Chet, I think, just because of the size and the weight. I'm on record. I'm sticking to it. I think Chet has the upside of Rudy Gobert with handles and a jump shot.
My God.
Like, no, I really do. Like, I think he rim protects just as good as Rudy Gobert.
Yeah.
I think he's got the I mean, you look at what he does at Gonzaga. He's surrounded by a whole bunch of really good older players.
Yeah.
Like, he's taking a back seat to guys like Drew Timme. Imagine whenever Chet gets on a court that's more spaced, like an NBA court, and can do some of that grab off the rim and go like he did in USA basketball and AAU basketball. Imagine when he's got the option to pop and shoot threes. Is it going to take a few years for him to put weight on his body? Yes.
Yep.
But I think that guy can be like an absolute defensive anchor and can be an offensive. He could be, this might be another hot take. Chet could be what everyone thought Porzingis was going to be.
I actually like that.
Yeah.
That actually feels more attainable than Rudy Gobert with handles.
I think of Chet as closer to like what Porzingis is now, which is probably too low. So I think that comparison you made works.
Yeah.
I think if Porzingis stayed on the New York Knicks trajectory, where it was just like to the effing moon
before the ACL,
that's what I see from Chet.
with
Yeah.
healthy knees. Yeah, no, that's fair. This whole conversation, maybe just kind of to like wrap a bow on this conversation, like to both of your guys' points, Jacob and Justin. I think the luxury that OKC has and the way that Presti has set up this team is you obviously take the best available player in the draft, whether that's a rim running big or a sharpshooter, a versatile wing like a Jabari Smith Jr. that fits really well with this team.
Maybe it's a
push
shade
all
on
the
Sharp.
chips. Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
There you go.
Seriously, I was listening to during.
He's Canadian.
Doing so. Yeah, he also
Ooh,
Canadian connection.
Canadian
Right.
trifecta.
I was running some errands earlier before the Chiefs game and was listening to Sam Vecini talk about Shaden Sharp. So yeah, no, that's also a great fit. You take the best available player there in that situation, regardless, because you have multiple needs for this team, and then you have the luxury of being able to kind of push some of those chips towards the middle of the table if you hit on that pick, and you can find some of these other needs or fill some of these other voids that you have on this team once you draft that kind of player. So, for example, you take a Jabari Smith Jr., well, then you can push some of those chips on the table and get you I think Jacob and I talked about this last week, but maybe at that point you can find you a Jared Allen equivalent. Obviously not, exactly, but you can find a big like that would help and fit this team. The way that Presti set up this rebuild is really impressive. And to both of your guys' points, I think there's a lot of flexibility there, which is important.
Definitely. Let's move on. We kind of talked about the Cavs there, which kind of led us down a little bit of a rabbit hole. But I want to talk about a weekly overview of this team. Like I said, they lost 4 games in a row this week: Dallas, San Antonio, Charlotte, and Cleveland. Silva, how worried are you about the Thunder, specifically about the blowouts?
Yeah, I've had a lot of internal conflict this week about that. They have 1 win in the new year. Lot of losses.
Do they really only
that.
1 win in January?
That's a really
Yeah.
good stat.
And it was the
They-
freaking Nets.
Yeah, they are not meeting your 1 win per week quota by any means.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've had internal conflicts because long run this is what you want, but there's not I have not watched them and seen a ton of things, and I'm like, yes, this is so exciting. I'm seeing growth out of players. I'm like Lou Dort has regressed, I think, a bit. Shea has struggled a lot until this last game. Giddey's obviously been good still, but there hasn't been a ton to get super excited about. But if you have a team that's losing this much, that's kind of going to be the case.
Yep.
Yeah, I think sometimes
1-10 in the last 11 games. Just to put
wow.
put
And
some
is it
numbers to that.
11 games since the new year?
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
Wow.
I think sometimes people forget that this team is comprised of human beings with emotions. We get too caught up in like the 2K mindset of screw it, just lose every game and go get a top pick, which is what you want. But losing all the time affects morale. It affects that locker room. It affects players' long-term views on things. And that's why I was a proponent for 1 win a week. I'm not going to lie. Being 1-10 since the new year does not hurt my feelings. We're going to talk about it in a second. I thought the Thunder were locked into the 4th best lottery odds, maybe sliding down to 5th or 6th.
Yep.
And now it's looking like number 3 is pretty attainable.
Yep.
Number 2 might be attainable. Did Detroit win tonight?
Ooh, I don't know. I'll look it up.
Trying to find it. They lost to the Nuggets. Okay. So not quite.
Yep.
But I mean, they're a half game out of 3. Third
Yep.
best odds right now.
Yeah. New Year's Eve, this team was 13-22, and they're currently 14-32.
Yep.
And
There we
That's
go.
impressive.
and you didn't even
And
have
we-
to give Shea plantar fasciitis.
That's
to do
exactly
that.
what I was about to say. We didn't even have to do something that made the national NBA media be mad.
Yeah, homeboy in Canada hadn't said crap about the black eye of the NBA over the
Serious
last 3 weeks.
XM.
Justin,
Nobody
are
listens to
you
that
worried at
anyways.
all about the blowout losses? Does any of that concern you at all?
Not at all. No. Everybody knows. Everybody understands the situation. Is everybody going to be like equipped for it? I don't know. And if not, bye, Felicia. Like, I think the important pieces are. I think Shea gets it. I think Dort gets it. I think Giddey gets it. I think Muskie and Kenrich get it. based off comments. Like, I think people understand the situation.
Kendrick said he wanted to not to interrupt you, but Kendrick said he wanted to retire here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Interview.
And so do I think that you can still get frustrated even if you get it? Yeah. And that's fine. In some ways, I want them to get frustrated. I think that's fine too. You know, like, I think that's good for their long-term development. Do I think Shea is going to cripple his future NBA career because he lost 10 out of 11 games in January of 2021? No, I don't think so. Do I think it'll make him more fiery and appreciative when the Thunder win the Western Conference? Absolutely. And so I don't think it, like, we're not seeing a morale crusher moment like when Steven Silas put his hands on his face in the post-game press conference in Houston. Like, we're not at that point, and I don't think we'll ever see that from Daigneault. And I think that kind of speaks to everybody kind of gets it. Like, they're not gonna be demoralized completely because everybody understands what's happening here.
I think they've really bought into Coach's mantra of the 0-0 mentality.
Yep.
Very much so. Also, I have heard people talk about that apparently behind the scenes, Shea is very, very bought in. Like, there's no worry about, they are losing a lot. They've gotten blown out twice this week.
Yeah.
There should be some worry. Like, from what I've been led to believe, like, Shea and his representation are on board.
Yeah.
Like, fully on board.
And if you look at those scores, yes, they got blown out twice in the last week, but out of those 11 games that we talked about,
competitive.
Only four of them have been more than 10-point losses.
Yeah.
Which I would consider a blowout. So 4 out of 10, that's not terrible. I mean, it could be better, but that's not awful. That means that, 6 of them, they're close. And a lot of them are, 2, 3, 4 points. Yep. I think they're still keeping it entertaining most nights, unless me or Silva is on the post-game pod, then who knows? But other than that,
which is everybody else over here. That's exactly right.
For everybody else, they keep it close.
Yeah, right.
And for what it's worth, the rest of the season, we're already halfway through the season. They have 2 games against Orlando, a game against Detroit, 2 against the Spurs, 2 against the Pacers, 2 against the Kings, all left.
So, like, fellow tankers, essentially.
Those are going to be important.
That's fair. Yeah. I've heard the same things, right? And I've listened and read the same things about Shea being completely bought in. I also understand that this season, like, again, I don't expect Dort to be fully engaged defensively and offensively 100% of the time this season. I don't expect Shea to play lockdown defense and do what he's doing, literally carrying this team on the offensive end of the offensive side of the floor this season, right? I definitely understand that. Actually, I have enough thoughts on this. I actually have, like, typed them out on notes. So maybe I'll spare us going into depth here on this podcast and say that for another time. But in short, I do wonder next season, how does the Thunder treat this season moving forward? I understand that maybe Shea and Lou are bought in, but I can tell from their body language that maybe they're not entirely enjoying this right now. Like, can you really make them go through another season of this and then, like, they can say all the right things and say if they're bought in, right? But, like, will they, especially if you don't hit on this upcoming draft, like, are they really going to be able to keep this up? And also, just from a talent standpoint, Shea, Lou, Giddey, we've even seen guys like Trey Mann. You could even say Aaron Wiggins and guys like JRE. The Thunder are very good at internal development. And at a certain point, those guys start to develop so much that you find yourselves in a position where next season, even if you do get rid of some of these, veteran pieces, you're still going to be better next season just because of internal development. So, like,
I've wondered if tanking next year is possible.
Exactly.
Like, if you're going to be the 7/8 best lottery odds next season, which I feel like after next draft and everything, they could be after internal growth. Either you have to pull some massive tankery off to really bottom out, or you push some chips to the table and you start to compete.
Exactly.
Yeah, ESPN mocked OKC as the first pick next year, and I don't see a path.
I don't see it, but I'm not against it.
But like I said,
give me one Benyana, please.
I was listening to Sam today, talking about some of these top level talents in this upcoming 2022 draft, and he has none of those. And what he at the very right up to the draft, he'll put out his draft guide, which is 100 pages on a PDF, which it's incredible. But he'll break these prospects down to tiers, and he's saying this draft he has no one in that tier 1 that he reserves for guys like Zion, for example. I'm trying to think. Luka, it was another one he had there. Where 2023, I could see him having a guy like Wembanyama, for example, up in there. So how much does Presti want one of those guys in 2023 compared to how much does he think what he has now, adding a tier 2 draft guy to this current squad? How far does that take him? I'm very curious to see how Presti balances all of this.
I think that's fair. I also think though that maybe guys like Sam Vecini don't have a quote unquote tier 1 guy in this draft class, but no draft expert bats 100%. Nobody had Giannis as a tier 1.
Yep.
Nobody had Rudy Gobert as a tier 1. Right. And you've just got to hit on one guy.
Yep.
That's all it takes. Silva, let's talk a little bit about Shea from this past week. 4 games, 4 losses, but he shot 45% from the field, scored 26.5 points a game, 6 rebounds, 6 assists, 2 steals a game. Is Shea starting to turn a corner?
Yeah, we saw how dominant he can be just by attacking the rim over and over and over and over again. Just like kind of how when Russ was here, we would always applaud him on the nights where he just relentlessly attacked the rim. Shea's doing that now, but it's fun to see how he does it. It's totally different than what we were used to for a decade. So it's been fun to see that even on a team that doesn't have really much space at all for him to operate, he can still attack a double team and connect through contact. It's been really cool to see.
I thought his playmaking specifically this week has been really awesome and really encouraging. I think teams are gearing in for him. They're collapsing the paint very quick, and Shea is beating his man off the first dribble, and the ball is out of his hands on the second dribble to an open guy on the wings. It's just those guys don't hit shots.
Right. No, I think that's a really good point, Jacob. I mentioned this in my post game on this past Monday. They don't mention in his post game availability that one thing that he's noticed Shea doing better at is he's getting double teamed, obviously, sometimes triple teamed constantly. And instead of waiting for those double teams to come to him, as soon as he touches the ball, he's making the right decisions and doing something with it and beating those double teams. That's why we see him kind of blowing past those guys, driving to the rim, or to your point, kicking out, making the right decision and playmaking for others. This is really interesting stat from NBA. I believe it was yesterday. The official NBA Twitter account tweeted this out. SGA is facing 17.2 possessions double teamed per game, which is the most in the NBA. And the fact that he's still able to do what he's been doing, to your point, specifically this past week, putting up the stats that he's been able to do, just kind of shows how he's been able to adjust to teams adjusting against him after, again, a really solid start to the season. We saw him kind of go through a little bit of a struggle there. Obviously some of that was due to the COVID protocols and whatnot. But he certainly wasn't performing at this level because teams were adjusting to him. And now we're seeing him kind of adjust back. And I just find that really impressive. I think what we've seen from Shea is big time. And to kind of the last topic we talked about, if you are surrounding him with the right players moving forward, I think that's, obviously you have a really special building block in Shea.
It's impressive. You look at the games in the new year. So I mentioned 11 games. We'll take off that first one, like Taylor mentioned, health and safety protocols. Shea didn't play in that one. So 10 games, the last 10 games for Oklahoma City. Shea has been the leading scorer in 7 of those games and the leading assist maker in 7 of those games and the leading rebounder in 2 for good measure.
Wow.
The other assist leader in the other 3 has been Giddey. Let's see if you can guess who's been the leading scorer. We've got 3 games, 2 players.
Aaron Wiggins. That was
yeah,
this past week.
Aaron Wiggins.
And
it's probably
Lou Dort.
easy. Yeah, Lou Dort.
Correct. That's the other easy one.
Well, and Justin, to add on to kind of your stat dive there, in the past 10 games, so the new year minus the one where Shea missed for health and safety, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander averaging 13 potential assists a game. If you look at just the past 4 from this week, that jumps up to 14 potential assists a game. And when you look at the last 4, so this past week on drives per game, 28, 5 more than any other player in the league
That's
per
crazy.
game.
That is crazy.
So the numbers kind of bear it out. He is getting downhill and he is making good passes once he gets to the rim and that defense collapses. The problem is he doesn't have anybody to hit shots once he passes it out.
Yep.
Right. Guy like Jabari Smith Jr. could change that.
Yeah,
Indeed.
that is exactly right.
Justin, how much of a roster shuffle are we going to see? The Thunder are back home tomorrow night with the Bulls.
Yep.
I imagine we're going to see some of these G Leaguers get recalled back up, guys like Teo Maladone, guys like Alexei Pokushevsky. Are we going to see a roster shuffle with different players getting more minutes? Guys like Poku coming in and getting more minutes at that 3-4 spot. I think we all kind of know how I feel about a certain player in that position, but what do you expect to see from guys coming back from the G League?
Yeah. It's interesting. You know, I think we'll absolutely get some shuffle. I'm curious to see how many minutes Diakite continues to get. I'm curious to see, you know, Baisley has bounced between starting and not starting, and he's kind of been in flux a little bit lately. And like you mentioned, do some of those minutes go to Poku potentially? Poku's been playing decently well in the G League, which is what you hope to see from him. Hopefully that translates back into the NBA. But I think you're going to have to see some shuffling. I'm curious to see where else it comes from, though. Looking at the kind of the most recent minutes breakdown, Kenny Hustle feels like a spot that he might see his minutes trimmed a little bit, which the tanker in me is not upset about.
Right.
Aaron Wiggins could potentially get, you know, a couple minutes here and there, cut away for somebody else. Maladone, I don't know, man.
See, I kind of
Maladone have to get minutes over Jerome and
Yeah,
Trey,
exactly.
and I just don't see that happening.
I don't. Yeah, I'm with
I
you.
wonder about Ty. Like, for example, we know that the broccoli Skittles comparison is well known amongst Thunder fans from Dignall this season. And to use that comparison, Teo's gone down to the G League and has gotten his broccoli. So I'm had a couple different games that kind of culminated, I guess, with this this game. What was it, last night, where he had like the buzzer beater to send it into overtime, had like 26 points. Look, he's not going to do that in the NBA. I'm pretty out on Teo at this point, but I could see him, based off how he's played well with the G League, kind of getting some of that, maybe eating into some of that playing time that a guy like Ty Jerome's getting right now. I don't like it, but
maybe
what I really want to see is Trey Mann just get all those minutes.
Right, exactly. I'm interested to see, as the season wanes on, is that where Teo can get minutes? I'll put it that way. Much like Moses Brown got a lot of minutes and a lot of empty stats at the end of last season, does Teo get a similar role to round out the season this year? Do we see Diakite get signed and get a lot of minutes? Do we see...
I think Diakite hasn't been half bad.
Yeah,
I agree.
I agree. Very positive. Yeah,
Diakite has been solid, but
maybe it's because this team is so devoid of bigs who can protect the rim and dunk the basketball. That in comparison, I'm just like, ooh,
this guy's solid.
He can do stuff.
I mean,
he can actually do the things that this team sucks at.
It happened with Moses Brown last year.
Oh my God.
True.
Exactly. It can happen again.
I cannot wait for the Thunder to sign Diakite for the rest of the season and then trade him for a second round pick and hear the no dunks guys throw a effing titty fit over it again.
This guy is a future all-star.
Doing in OKC.
I can't wait for like the, prime Diakite, the GOAT Twitter accounts to pop up and things of that nature.
Right.
I think, Silva, remind me if I'm wrong, I think the guys from No Dunks, great dudes, run a great show, probably watch zero Oklahoma City Thunder basketball, said the other day that if they had to start a franchise right now, they would start it with DeJounte Murray over Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
Yeah, I think half of them said they would choose DeJounte Murray instead of Shai to start a franchise, which
because
guess
they
you
saw
gotta
the
get-
highlights of the Spurs OKC.
I guess
game.
you got to
And
get
that's why I've
content from
stopped
somewhere.
listening to No Dunks.
Yeah,
But
if you watched the Spurs OKC game, if you just watched that game and
uh-huh.
DeJounte
No
Murray's good.
I was going
Yeah.
to say no
Oh,
disrespect
no.
to DeJounte.
Yeah.
He's great.
DeJounte's good.
no,
And look, I understand. I
But
understand. as much as
DeJounte's a
anybody, that's
top.
very hard to watch all 30 NBA teams on a night-to-night basis.
DeJounte's a top
But,
75 guy in the league.
yeah,
I think Shea's top 30.
agreed.
Is that fair? Top
And I think
25.
he could
I
be
was gonna say
more
40, but I
surrounded
respect
with the
30.
right talent.
Yeah. A little wild. All right. Well, let's move on from a week in review to kind of projecting into the future. Our guy, Joe Masato of the Daily Oklahoman, dropped an article yesterday about Kenrich Hustle. Quote, Kenny said, "I want to be here with the Thunder. This might sound far-fetched, but I would like to retire here." Which opens up an interesting can of worms that I want to talk to you guys about. We all believe, as most Thunder fans would, that the Thunder's best and most attainable trade target this season is Kenrich Williams. He makes so little that any contender can concoct a trade for him. He's been phenomenal for the past season and a half, and I don't use that word lightly. He has been really, really, really good. But we also know that Sam Presti has a history of working with players to get them where they want to go. He very much cherishes and values loyalty. And that puts you at a crossroads with Kenrich Williams, because getting him to the place he wants to be means sitting on your hands and doing nothing. Silva, how do you think the Thunder front office should approach this dilemma of, do we do what's best in the long-term interest of the franchise and trade Kenrich Williams for assets and to make our pick better this year, versus do we keep a guy here that wants to be here and that helps set the culture?
I think ultimately you have to look at how the team is performing with Kenrich right now. And yes, he's been in health and safety, but their draft position right now is where you want to be. And ultimately, like you said, this team is supposed to value loyalty. You know, most Oklahomans, I think, still hate Kevin Durant for not being loyal. We want guys to say, "Hey, I want to stay in Oklahoma City." Like, that is the dream for a small market. And now we finally have a guy saying that, and he's a valuable trade asset. He'd probably be the Lakers' fourth best player if we just traded him to that roster. So
It's probably true.
yeah, I think I want him to stay. I want him to stay.
Okay.
Kenrich, no.
Silva's got an emotional attachment. A deep,
Yes,
deep
I like
emotional attachment
Yeah.
to Kenny Hustle.
Me
Taylor,
too.
What if
if
he's
you,
the one holding it all together?
I mean, how can you?
Yeah,
how can
I
you
don't think if
deny
you
the
trade-
shag?
yeah, I don't think if you trade Kenrich Williams, it's just like the locker room goes to shit and the
No.
culture all falls away. But I don't know, especially for a small market, this is kind of how I feel for it. If you have a small market and you have a guy that says that they specifically want to be there and then you trade them away, like, that kind of small town charm is what you have.
Right.
And if you spoil that, then you really hurt yourself with players in the future. I don't know. Taylor, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, no, I think that's a really good point. OKC doesn't have the luxury as that these big markets do, where they can kind of mess those kind of things up, or do have the luxury of not worrying as much about player and agent relationships. And so because of that, as well as highly as we know, the OKC thinks of Kenrich, as well as the players and his locker room presence, and even how he would fit with this team moving forward, right? Like, you trade Kenrich, you get something maybe that's better for the team now, but when the team is contending again, let's hope it's 2 seasons from now, maybe 3 seasons from now, you're looking for Kenrich Williams all over again, right?
Yeah, but
And
3
so-
seasons from now, Kenrich Williams is also 30 years old.
Yeah, right. He's older. Exactly. But I think all that being said, especially as much as he wants to be here, I think it's going to have to be a pretty special offer for the Thunder to get rid of him. But we've seen Presti do that. Like, if it's the right situation for him, I think he would talk to Kenrich's management, talk to Kenrich, and he won't just send him anywhere. But if it's the right situation and a pretty significant trade package, I don't see Presti turning that down. I don't know, but I'm torn on it, just like Silva is.
I think Kenny Hustle is as available as he's ever been. I think
All right. Do you think Presti's upset that this article got done, Justin?
No, I don't think he's upset because I think he hopes that article could be written about every player that ever puts on the Thunder uniform.
That's a good point. I like that.
And so it's not a bad thing. Like you said, Jacob, that's what every small market wants. But I think that God bless you, Kenny, but you're not that valuable.
I don't want to be around anymore.
I just so roll it back and think about Steven Adams.
Good point.
I bet if you asked Steven Adams, he'd say, yeah, I want to retire here. It may sound crazy. I want to spend my whole career here. Like, has there ever been a guy who seemed to be enjoying himself as much as Steven Adams?
That's very true.
But
Nerlens Noel, well, no hot dogs were consumed here. Never mind.
got a Schwab Dog sponsorship. But
God,
Steven Adams got shipped. And I think Steven Adams probably had a lot more clout in that department than Kenny Hustle does.
Oh, God, that's such a good
I'm
point.
sure. Look,
And
Kenrich Williams loves spending time out on Lake Hefner,
Who-
on a
who
sailboat
doesn't?
probably just as much. And I bet Steven Adams is out there too in his flip flops.
getting a nice meal at Red Rock Canyon Grill on the balcony.
That's right.
Taking in
Looking
the
down
lake
the
breeze.
lighthouse out there.
Who
Just
wouldn't?
doesn't get much better.
Who wouldn't love it? But my guy can go get some like street tacos in LA and rub shoulders with celebrities on the sidelines and go set screens for Braun and Russ and Austin Reeves and be perfectly happy
And play in the playoffs.
and play in the playoffs and make lots of money and get on Bleacher Report every night. And so,
True.
I think he'll be just fine. I love Kenrich. I would love for him to stay around, but I also just looking at the roster, he's the most valuable trade chip that you're probably going to trade. And so I think the Thunder have to cash in on it.
And also resulting in some wins for this Thunder team that they wouldn't otherwise have this season.
Yeah.
Yep. I think that's very fair. Very fair.
You know what? If they attach Darius Baisley in that trade,
Here we go.
Now we're talking.
Bays
Then
Kenrich, take one for the team.
I think attaching Bays to a Kenrich Williams trade kind of negates all the value.
dude.
Sean, I know you're out there, buddy.
Oh man,
He's got a pretty good Foot Locker commercial out there.
He does.
I think that's a pretty solid commercial.
I was shocked. I was like, did they really let? He's really in that commercial.
Those
with
clutch
Jamal
clients, those
Jamal
New
Murray?
Balance sponsors.
Yeah,
That's
out
right.
of all the clutch clients, he's the one they went with. Shout out to Baisley, man. Hey, speaking of commercials and merchandise, Justin,
Nailed it.
Ooh,
I think we have some stuff to give away.
I see what you did there.
Oh, well done.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have another Poku pack to give away. If you have not been following along on social media, first off, shame on you.
Shame to your
Second off,
family.
We're giving away a Poku pack courtesy of our friends at Shop Good OKC. They hooked us up with a Poku pack. It's an autographed Poku fanny pack stuffed with stickers and patches and other fabulous Thunder gear from our friends at Shop Good. The only way you can get your hands on an autographed Poku pack, unless you were physically in Oklahoma City at the autograph signing party. This is our second of 3. So if you're hearing this and you're thinking, what? I missed out on this. Don't worry. Pay attention. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter. We will be posting the third soon. We've given away 1. It's time to give away the second. Are you ready?
Let's do it.
I have all the names plugged in to this fancy random name picker that I found on the internet for free, so it seems legit. Are you ready?
Let's do it.
Dremel.
At Mervin 30.
Mervin.
I think
sure that's
Mervin,
That's a Instagram, but
I can't remember if
we'll
it's
find it.
Twitter, Instagram, but I will find out. Shout out Mervin. Congratulations. You win a
Big
Poku
time.
pack. And like I said, if you did not get to enter, make sure you follow us on our socials and get entered for the third and final Poku pack, which will be coming shortly.
Yes,
I
that
hear it
third one
smells
I
like
think
it.
is going to be tied to our trade deadline live show on
Ooh,
February
love it.
10th.
Love it. There you go.
So
Fabulous.
wouldn't it be incredible if we gave away a Poku pack on the trade deadline show and Poku got traded?
Oh my gosh.
What a day that would be.
have to give it away to somebody who was a fan of wherever he was being traded
That's
to.
exactly what I was
Serbia.
going to say. Yep.
Dude.
All right, gentlemen, let's move on. We are going to, well, I guess first let's do a tank update. I want to do a tank update real quick, just because I feel like it's kind of mandatory that we do a tank update now during these weeks because
Winning 1 of 10 games.
yeah, it's becoming very, very important. So I was going to share my screen. Maybe I'm not going to share my screen.
You want the sounder?
Yeah, play the tank sounder. Why I try to figure out how to share my screen.
Loser! You're a loser! And that means that the number 1 pick in the NBA draft goes to...
Such a great sounder.
Very good sounder.
So we are pulling up Tankathon. Thunder fans have become very, very accustomed to Tankathon over the past 2 years. Hopefully this year it doesn't break our hearts again. But the Thunder currently, as we mentioned earlier in the show, 4th best lottery odds, only a half game behind the Houston Rockets, tied in the win column. Houston only has 1 more loss than OKC. Thunder right there on the doorstep, guys, to the 3rd best lottery odds.
Mm-hmm.
And then that Clippers pick. Good God, that Clippers pick. Constantly on the seesaw.
Mm-hmm.
One day it's pick 17 or 18. The next day it's pick 11. I want to point this out just to show the absurdity of it. Portland, Atlanta, the Clippers, Washington, New York, Toronto, the Lakers, Boston, Minnesota, all within 3 games of each other. That's like a third of the league.
That's incredible.
All within 3 games of each other. Which brings up the point, it's really hard to see this Clippers pick in the best case scenario dropping any lower than I would say like 9. I don't see New Orleans climbing up. I don't see Sacramento climbing up. I don't see Indiana climbing up. I don't see San Antonio climbing up. I think 9 is like the lowest that Clippers pick could go. But still, if the Thunder end up with the 9th and the 4th pick in this draft, I think you take that and you run with it.
Yep.
Agreed.
I couldn't agree more. I was going to say that almost feels like best case scenario at this point, even though it isn't. It just maybe the most likely best case.
Silva, if you could lock in this Lakers pick right now at the 12th best odds
Clippers.
for lottery night. Sorry, the Clippers, not the Lakers pick. If you could lock that Clippers pick in at the 12th best odds right now on January 23rd, or you get to ride out the rest of the season and maybe it falls to 9, maybe it falls to 11, maybe it climbs to 16. Would you lock it in at 12 right now, or would you ride it out?
I'd probably lock it in because I think Paul George is going to come back.
I think that's fair. It looks like Paul George probably not back before the All-Star break, though.
Yep.
And the Clippers have been competitive. They're 4-6, and they're pissing me off.
Yes.
Philadelphia blowing a 20-point lead on Friday night.
Uh-huh.
Denver
pissing away a game. God, that Denver Clippers game earlier this week, though.
Yeah, that was wild.
Absurd.
Jokic
49-point triple-double.
Oh, my God.
He's
that was
insane.
amazing.
He's insane. So I think the current state of the tank is in a pretty good spot, especially if Houston can continue winning some games.
Yep.
And the Thunder keep on this losing streak. The only worry is I think Houston's going to trade off some vets at the deadline.
Yep.
And they'll really bottom out because this doesn't get talked a lot about, guys. As of right now, I know it's only half a season into their rookie year. Jalen Green ain't good.
No.
He's
Indeed.
struggling.
Apparently, Alperen Şengün is rookie of the year, future 10-time All-NBA player.
The
Baby
next
Jokic.
Jokic.
Yeah. Jesus Christ.
I
But
went
Jalen
back
Green
to
has just
Twitter,
flat out,
man.
not been good. Like he's been like not even like a top 15 rookie in this class.
Yep.
He's got a long way to go.
He's got a long way to go.
He's real young.
And
Did
it
they
just
draft,
hammers home my take that summer league is meaningless.
Yes.
Yep.
He
You're
looked
right about
he
that.
looked like potentially the best player on the floor every night. in Summer League.
Did they actually draft Malik Monk and Ennis Cantor?
Who?
The Rockets.
Oh, I
And
get
Jalen
it.
Green and
I was like, wait, no.
Oh,
And then
I
get
you.
it now. I'm slow. It took me a second.
I love that. So I love that slander.
Took all three of us to say.
That's good.
That was really good.
You could
And
get Rockets Twitter fired up. with
Oh
that.
God, dude, the
Yeah.
amount of
That's a
Shengun,
good tweet.
the amount of Shengun Nation, Shengun Stan accounts on Twitter.
unbelievable.
Everyone in Turkey.
Well,
Maybe not everybody. Do we want to hit Sim Lottery here, guys?
yes.
It's like, dude, the Sim Lottery button is like crack cocaine.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
you used to over and over and over.
Exactly. Here we go. I always get really nervous every time I hit this.
Get
Heavy
butterflies.
breathing.
If it's bad, just trim it.
Oh,
Hey.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Number one,
There you go.
baby.
Pick number 1 and pick number 12. I think we'll take that.
That'd be
Sold.
amazing. Hell yeah, we would.
Well, because this is the one that came up. Let me ask you guys. If this was the result on lottery night, would you trade pick 12? Either one of the future Clippers unprotected picks or one of those future Houston picks that are protected 1 through 4? Either one of those. So you're trading pick 12, one of those 2 picks, and Lou Dort to jump up to 4.
Ooh. And you get 1 and 4.
Because I'm telling you right now, I'm pulling the trigger and I'm not thinking twice.
Yeah, I was gonna say
If I can put Jabari Smith Jr.
Yeah.
and
Hardy.
either a Jaden Ivey or a Shaden Sharp
Or sorry,
or-
that's right. Yeah, I'm in Ivy.
or a Chet Holmgren on this team, I'm
Yeah.
doing it.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's real nice.
Yep.
That is when you consolidate.
Lord have mercy, I'm about to bust.
Lord have mercy, I'm about to bust.
We don't even need
Is it-
sounders. I got
Is it sad that I thought that was the sounder the first time?
I say it a lot in my head. For what? For better, for worse.
All right, good gentlemen. Before we get out of here, we're at 53 minutes on the show. We're not going to go much longer here, but we've got to play a game. Take it or leave
I
it.
like games. Oh, I like taking it or leave it
One
too.
one of our classics.
Taylor
Take it or leave
loves
it.
to take
Hey
it.
Silva, do we have any any background music? What'd you say,
I said Taylor loves to take it.
Silva? Do we have any background music we can throw on here?
Look, I have our outro sound beds. I got the Christmas beat. You want the Christmas beat?
You want hey, we had a take it or leave it sounder at one point.
We did have a take it or
Wow.
leave it sounder at one point. I'm trying to see if I have
Way to throw
any.
Silva under the bus.
I know.
I know.
Hey, do you have any
Shambles.
random music we didn't
In
plan
shambles
for?
right
Ready
now.
to go?
Yeah,
Hey, Silva, play some bangers.
I don't have any good background music either. So
Uh,
we will
might
pass
just,
on some background
We might just
music.
leave it on the
Yeah, there you
Unlike-
go.
on this
unlike
one.
the
Silva, we got
last,
background music. Take it or leave it. All right,
it.
Silva. I'm going to throw the first one to you. I don't know if Silva's ever done take it or leave it with us.
I haven't. I haven't.
The rules are real
First off,
simple.
Silva.
I either
I'm gonna
take it
I'm
or
gonna
leave
give
it.
you a statement. You either tell me you're gonna take it, meaning like it will happen, you buy into it, or you're gonna leave it, and then we'll debate each one for just a few moments.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. So Silva,
Mhm.
take it or leave it. Ben Simmons will be a king on February 11th.
Take it. End my misery. I'm tired of reading about Ben Simmons trade rumors.
Love it.
It's been almost a year.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
Oh,
So you're taking it. He's gonna be a king.
Why not?
What's the trade? Give us the
Uh,
trade.
I was actually listening to the Game Theory podcast today with Jared Weiss
Yep.
Mhm.
and Sam Vecini, and they had a fun one that was like Tobias Harris and Ben Simmons for like Halliburton, Healed, Barnes.
I think that's it.
I
and-
wouldn't
and
trade
picks.
Halliburton. I'd trade Fox before I traded Halliburton.
Agreed.
I love Halliburton. Justin, you get the next take it or leave it. The Pacers will look the exact same after the trade deadline. Take it or leave it.
Leave it because they're gonna have Ben Simmons.
Oh, I love it. What's the trade?
Bring it full circle. I mean, Sabonis if you're Philly.
How does that fit with Joel Embiid, though?
I think it'd be awesome. Are you kidding? I would.
I
love
think you
to
almost
see
have to do
Embiid
like a
and
3-team
Sabonis
deal. I don't
together.
think you can put another big on that team.
I think that'd be super fun. I'd be all in on Sabonis and Embiid together.
Why don't we
Let's
just
bonus on
muddle?
point.
Why don't we just muddle all of this together? Ben
And bring in
Simmons
the
to Indiana.
Kings, Yes.
Ben Simmons
yes.
to Indiana. Sabonis to the Kings.
Now we're talking.
Don't do that to Domas.
No way, but yes, this is it. This is it.
God, poor Domas if he goes to the
Don't
Kings.
do that to Domas.
That'd
They
be
finally got their
awful.
boogie
Hey,
replacement.
Presti will save him like a season or two down the road.
So,
It's fine.
Justin, you really think that that the Pacers are going to pull the trigger at the deadline and ship some stuff off?
I think they're going to shake things up. Who the hell knows with Ben Simmons, but I do think that I think they'll trade somebody.
I like that.
I think that's
I
probably
like
pretty
both
fair.
of those.
I think that's. I kind of think Miles Turner fits well out in Sacramento as well.
Mhm. Yeah,
Sacramento feels like they're very primed to make a deal.
I think there's a lot of Miles Turner.
Which means they're going to screw it up.
100%. Taylor, take it or leave it. Both of the Los Angeles teams are in a play-in game this year.
leave it. Mainly because I really want the Clippers to not be in the play-in, and I'm rooting for it. But look, I think it's between the Clippers falling out and the Lakers like getting their what together with AD finally coming back here soon. Hopefully this week. It sounds like I saw some reports today. I'm going to leave it. But again, like that is a solid possibility. I just think there's enough odds going against that to leave it.
My dream scenario is there is a playing game at Staples. That's the two LA teams.
Oh, that'd be fantastic.
I would love that.
That'd be great. And the Clippers.
And you have a lot of
lose, better
faith
for our
saying the
pick.
Clippers that the Lakers could get their crap together. I think the Lakers, like I've been on this for a long time. I think the Lakers freaking suck.
They do.
And the Lakers' exceptionalism, it makes me so irrationally angry. Like, I'm sure you guys saw that tweet earlier this week. Oh, sorry. Yeah, Matt Clarkson says it's the crypto center, not the Staples Center.
Yeah,
that's hard to get used to.
It's even worse.
Somebody had tweeted that the Lakers are showing interest in Miles Turner, Ben Simmons, and Jeremy Grant.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
I'm interested in COVID ending, having $1 million and dating Gal Gadot. It's not going to happen.
Lakers interested in Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. You heard it here first on the Uncontested.
They're going to, I never get over the meme of the Flex Seal guy.
Yes.
And it says all the Lakers problems, THT and a second round pick. As the Flex Seal gets me every
That's
time.
a top
Man.
tier meme.
Silva, take it or leave it. The Atlanta Hawks go from Eastern Conference finalists last season to missing the playoffs and the play-in this season. For reference, the Atlanta Hawks currently a game and a half out of the play-in tournament. They're at 21-25. The Washington Wizards are the 10th seed, the last team in the play-in at 23-24.
Leave it. They're making the playoffs. And you know why? Because they're trading for Ben Simmons.
I hate this podcast so much.
The
Yes.
Simmons segment.
I love it. It's perfect.
Oh, my goodness. There's been a lot of chatter that they could be a Ben Simmons team.
Yeah, I bet.
that was well done.
Who hasn't been discussed as a Ben Simmons destination?
That's true. Hey, they got a list. 30 players, man.
Yeah, sure.
Oh, my gosh. All right, let's get to some Thunder-centric take it or leave it. Justin, this one's for you. This is a fun one. 2 of the following players, Darius Baisley, Teo Maladon, Alexei Pokashevsky, and Lou Dort, are not on the Thunder at the start of next season.
Ooh.
Do you take it or do you leave it?
I'm going to take it because Lou Dort and Poku are getting traded for Ben Simmons.
Oh, my God.
Okay, but really, no. I am going to take it. But I think it's the other 2, Baisley and Maladon. Like we discussed with Maladon, it just feels like Daignault's comments are just kind of like done with the kid.
Yes, I agree.
Like you read between the lines and it's like, yeah, he doesn't have a future here.
Right.
Baisley, I just
Not playing
just,
in the fourth, like a handful of games this past week. Baisley.
as time goes on, it just feels like a change of scenery is probably best for everybody. And like we alluded to earlier, those clutch clients, I think Rich Paul will probably do what he can. If he's not going to have a big role on this team, he's going to do what he can to get him somewhere where he can.
So, Justin, of those 4 players, rank them from top to bottom, 1 to 4, as most likely to be gone versus least likely.
Oh, Teo, Bays, Dort, Poku.
Oh, you put Poku as the most likely to stay.
I just don't think they have any reason to do anything with Poku at this point.
I agree. There's no value league wide there.
Exactly.
Yep.
Dort, it's like I think they really like him and they're probably going to work towards a new deal with him, but
He's valuable enough.
There's a chance that it doesn't.
Yeah.
Very true.
I think that's fair. The Dort conundrum is interesting. Like, do you trade him at the deadline? In March, he's extension eligible for like a 3-year, like $36 million deal.
Yep.
Do you get him to sign that? Do you make him a restricted free agent this summer? Do you make him an unrestricted free agent summer of 2023?
Nope.
That's what they did with Jeremy Grant, which is kind of an interesting, but whenever they had Jeremy Grant, they were strapped for cash and well over the tax line. It's a very interesting conundrum. It's going to be interesting to see how they play it out. Taylor, take it or leave it. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander will end this season shooting 34% from the 3-point line.
Ooh,
he is currently shooting
27.9. It's basically 28%.
28%.
Woo. I'm taking it because I think the floor is really going to open up when the Thunder trade for Ben Simmons.
God damn it.
It's unavoidable.
First off,
that doesn't make any sense. But I need to incorporate it somehow. That's the only way I could incorporate it. Yes, you're right. That does not make sense. I'm actually leaving it on this one because 28% from the floor, but you look at his attempts, 5.7 attempts, almost six attempts per game, which is by far the highest of his career. Only converting 1.6 of those, so essentially 2 of those, 2 of 7. I don't see that improving as the season goes along, particularly and take into consideration a lot of what we talked about earlier in the podcast, where the Thunder want to find themselves coming into this 2022 draft and how critical that is. I don't see that improving it. So I say leave it.
Okay, interesting. Shai has taken, what is this number? 18 threes away from taking his second most threes of his career in a season.
Huh. Wow.
His second season, he took 250. Last season, he took 170, albeit in much less games.
Yep.
True.
This season, he's taken 233.
That makes sense. I mean, it passes the eye
It
test.
does make sense. That's a good point. Yep.
So, interesting. I think he could get, I don't know. I think 32, 33 is attainable. 34 is a little high. But I'm not, with that being said, I'm not worried about his shot. I'm really not.
Yeah. Agreed.
The circumstances of this season really take a lot of that worry away from me. Silva. This is a fun one, I think. Take it or leave it. OKC will go over on their preseason over-under win total. Their over-under win total for the season back before the year started was 23.5. They're currently at 14-32, which means to hit the over has to be 24 wins. They would have to go 10-26 the rest of the way. Basically,
so close.
Playing the same winning percentage basketball that they're playing right now. I think it's like a difference of like 1 or 2 percentage points on the winning percentage.
Vegas is good.
Will they hit that preseason over under? Or they will hit the over. Are you taking it or are you leaving it?
Oh God.
I mean, Ben Simmons gives this team at least another 5.
I know. God. Leave it.
Tough.
We're not going over. Leave it.
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
Tank.
So you have them going at least 9-27.
All aboard.
At best.
I like it.
At best.
That means me and Silva are combining to cover the next 27 games.
Yep.
That's right.
I was about to
You
say,
two have got the post games covered.
Silva, have you covered a single win this season?
Nope.
I did. It was against
Oh.
Detroit, I think. It was after that
Yeah.
like 73-point loss.
Okay. Justin, have you covered a win? You covered a win this season, Justin.
I think I have.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you have.
Yeah, I think I have.
Do you guys agree? Are the Thunder
40-point loss?
Are the Thunder not going to hit the over under after all that trash we talked about? How they were too good to tank.
Right? It's amazing what a couple of weeks will do for the old pendulum swing.
Yeah.
I think I'm leaving it. I think they're going to go under because I think that I still feel like post All-Star break trade deadline, this team gets a little more aggressive at losing.
Interesting. So even with that though, they need 10 wins.
Yeah.
They have 5 games coming up against either Orlando, Detroit, or Sacramento.
They have to lose all 5 of those.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Those are really important to tank, but
yeah,
I don't know. It's going to be close. It's going to be interesting. Taylor, you going? Do you think they're going to hit the over?
I honestly don't. The way that they've played, especially this past week, I kind of expect that to be what we see post trade deadline. I don't see any moves that are going to bolster this roster necessarily. I'm going to take the under, which I very much understand. I'm going to save everybody, all the listeners, the work of going back and listening to our preseason predictions. And I said that they were going to just hammer the over. At this point, I don't know if they're going to make it. I mean, again, that does a really solid over under. To Silva's point earlier, like I think it's really close.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to stay with under right now.
I think that's fair. Justin, you get the last take it or leave it. The Thunder make more than one trade before the deadline.
Interesting. Yeah, that's a good over under as well. Because obviously after they trade for Ben Simmons, it's just a matter of who else they can have left.
Well, they use an extra roster spot.
Oh, I had to.
Silva, just for
They
my
push the chips in.
sanity, will you play the sounder from the Mike Norvell Twitter Spaces, please?
This is some bullshit.
That's how I feel right now.
Shit. That was so much better when we didn't think it was like a bit and we thought it was legitimate.
I know.
Oh,
It was a bit.
Sad days.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, somebody came out and said it. Yeah, he was a comedian.
So
Bit.
good. It's still good.
Yeah.
It's still good.
We still have the memory.
No, but realistically, I don't know. I think I'm gonna leave this one. I think we're gonna get one trade. It might have more than one player in it,
Okay.
but I just don't see there being like a crazy amount of activity for Oklahoma City at the deadline. I think if somebody gets moved, it's probably Kenny. And
So that's the one you're going with is
Yeah.
Kenrich Williams.
I think so.
I'm going to push back. I'm going to go 2.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say there's going to be,
I like it.
I don't know if
Kenny
it's
and-
Kenrich, but I think
Okay.
there's going to be a Kenrich trade. And I think there's going to be a Team X
Salary dumps.
trades a player to OKC along with a pick for nothing in return so they can drop below the salary cap or
Agree.
the tax
Touche.
line.
Yep.
Agree.
Austin is right on the edge. I actually thought the Thunder were going to be the Juancho Hernan Gomez trade
Yep.
and just absorb that money.
Yep.
That way Boston could just duck the tax right then and there and be done with it. Maybe they're a team like I've hypothesized, could they be the team in I can't believe I'm about to continue your bit. In a Ben Simmons trade to Atlanta.
We
but
did
the
it.
Thunder are the
We
ones
did
that
it.
bring on like Danilo Gallinari
Yeah.
and just eat the
Right.
bad salary. Right.
Yeah.
Something like that. I wonder, I think there's going to be something like that. And I think if the question was moves, I think there would be a lot more moves. I think the Thunder are going to sign some people post trade deadline. You could see Aaron Wiggins get bumped up to the Lou Dort Moses Brown special,
Agreed.
which is like the 3-year, no money, no guarantees type of deal.
Diakite takes his two-way spot, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think you'll see some news like that, but just stuff that doesn't get us excited. As much as I want the Thunder to make some noise at the trade deadline, I think we've talked about it a lot on this show. it just doesn't make any sense to do anything. Like I really like the idea of like Kenny and the Phoenix pick for PJ Washington. I think that's a fun deal. I think it really fits a need for the Thunder.
Yep.
It makes no sense to do that this season, though.
Exactly.
You need to limp to the lottery, and then at the draft is when this team should unload.
Yes, agreed.
At the draft and over the summer, don't do anything to jeopardize the tank this season. You got to wait to see what you get, what lottery pick you get, what your draft looks like, what your team looks like, and then start making moves. You don't put the cart before the horse.
Agreed.
But with all that said, I think they're going to make 2 trades.
However, they're trading for Ben Simmons.
I can't wait till the Ben Simmons garbage is over.
Me too.
Amen.
Me too.
All right, gentlemen, we've gone pretty long in this one. Any parting thoughts before we get out of here?
Ben Simmons doesn't get traded because I think Morey really genuinely is holding out for Harden. Here's my parting thoughts. Also, go Chiefs.
They need to trade him.
Yeah, they do.
And help out Joel Embiid this year. Silva, pump that outro music. Thank you guys so much for joining the live stream tonight. We went a little bit late, but Taylor deserved it. He needed to watch overtime and finish throwing his guts up. So shout out to Taylor and his Chiefs.
Facts.
We will be back with you guys in less than 24 hours after the Thunder take on the Chicago Bulls, the corpse of the Chicago Bulls. As even though they're Bulls, they are dropping like flies.
Hey, F Grayson Allen forever.
Hey, Grayson Allen flagrant 2, Lou Dort flagrant 2. Looked like the same type of foul to me.
Yeah.
Nick will be with you guys tomorrow post game, so make sure to join the live stream. Then we have a long week without Thunder basketball. The next game isn't until Friday night against the Indiana Pacers. 3 days off. Justin will be with you guys next Friday. Have a great beginning of your week, a great Monday. Thanks for hopping in the live stream. If you did, we appreciate you. Make sure to go drop that 5-star rating wherever you get your podcast from. DM us a screenshot of that 5-star and your address. We'll mail you out some stickers. And until next time, and as always, Thunder up.